Hey Geeks, Mod Tim here, coming at you live once again. I just want to say thank you guys again for yesterday. All of your comments were really great. I love the interactions we had. So, because now that I've done this a couple of times, I can see you guys pop up and comment on it. So tonight's movie, going right along, is Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. So this came out in 1986, 2 years after The Search for Spock. For me, honestly, I'm pretty sure this is my favorite movie. Like, I'm sure Josh, once he gets to this point in the video, is going to argue with me, but The Wrath of Khan is great, and that's also, like, The Wrath of Khan and The Voyage Home are always fighting with each other, but I love them for two different reasons. Like, The Wrath of Khan is just a great movie in general, but it's very dramatic. See, I knew it. It's very dramatic, whereas this is very comedic. And like if you guys watch the videos that I've done for the original series, I'm always talking about how they're always walking that fine line of balancing. Khan is pretty dramatic. It has a little bit of humor mixed in, but it's really dramatic. Whereas this is really comedic, and it has a little bit of drama in there. Like, this is nothing but MacGuffin, this whole movie. And I really like it. And then once I get to the end, I have more reasons why I like this. But so this is pretty much the last, going to be the last of the trilogy, because if you look at the second movie, sorry, I'm getting distracted. If you look at movies 2, 3, and 4, like I said yesterday, they pretty much all take place within about a month, probably less, probably like a week, but about a month within each other, even though they're over, I think, 6 years, 8 years. They're just one into the next. Justin, thank you. I love this shirt. This is a great shirt. If you saw the back, it's actually got like tour dates. It's perfect. So this movie, it's one of my favorites. So this was directed by Leonard Nimoy again, which I think it's really funny with the Star Trek movies that they always say it's the evens and the odds, because they did the first movie and they're like, well, we're fucked. We're never getting another movie again. But they managed to squeak by, so they got the second movie. And then they were like, this is great. We're going to completely do a third movie. And then they're like, well, shit, that was bad. We're done. We've killed the franchise. But they managed to squeak by and do a fourth one. And then this movie's considered great. So I really like this, and I should have started from the beginning with this. This movie was dedicated to the Challenger crew, which was the space shuttle that exploded the same year in 1986. So I felt like that was really nice. I liked how they dedicated this whole movie to that Challenger crew. This movie, like I said, came out in 1986, which is also the 20th year anniversary for Star Trek. So I thought that was pretty interesting, that that's how far we'd come in the franchise. So just kind of like I did yesterday, just going right into the cast. This movie has a great cast, which is what I'm pretty sure makes this movie. We see Robin Curtis come back as Lieutenant Savick, which I thought was kind of pointless, to be honest with you, because she's in it for like a fraction of a second, maybe. But it's good to see her. Like I said last time, I kind of wish it had been Kirstie Alley, but at this point, like, the part was so tiny, it didn't really matter. There's always been rumors or speculation that Savick is pregnant with Spock's child, because in The Search for Spock, she does like the finger sex and helps him through his pon farr. We never go into it, and it's never talked about again, but I've always thought it was interesting looking at future series. None of the original series ever has children, and that's kind of a reoccurring theme, just kind of with television in general, going up pretty much to now in modern times. Like The Next Generation, not a lot of long-term relationships, but like Sulu is the only one that we know has kids, and that's about it. We know Kirk never did. We never hear about Spock, Chekhov, or nothing. So I think it's interesting that in some unknown written part of this universe, there is little Spock Jr. out there, who is a third Romulan and a third human. So, I mean, this is kind of interesting. I would love to, like, see something about this kid. And there's a lot of like Josh kind of brought up, there's a lot of non-canonical, I think it's the word, oops, things about Spock having kids, I just lost the episode. In the original series, one of the last episodes where they go to the library and then that library sends them to different parts of time, Spock, in some books, Spock encounters a woman in the episode, and in some non-canonical books, they have a kid together. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting. So moving along, but sticking with Spock. So Mark Leonard returns as Sarek for, I think this is the 4th time now that he has reprised that role. So that's awesome that he keeps coming back. And it's interesting that Jane Watt comes back as his wife, Amanda. So I love that. I love seeing her again. It's unfortunate they don't really share any scenes together because Sarek is at like the diplomacy. And Amanda is with Spock. On planet Vulcan. And Noah, you are right. I actually really like Worf's son, Alexander. But again, like, you don't see him, like, having a relationship. You just see the woman come in and say, like, by the way, we had a baby. That's what I meant to. Like, so, sorry about that. Let me clarify that. But you are right. Worf does have Alexander. So anyway, so we see Sarek and we see Amanda, but no scenes together. But it's really awesome that, Jane Wyatt comes back and Mark Leonard comes back. So I like seeing them. And finally, Catherine Hicks as Jillian, which I always want to say Gillian, probably Gillian Anderson, but Jillian, as she says in the movie, which I love Catherine Hicks. I thought she did a great job. As a kid, I always thought it was really funny that Catherine Hicks is in this movie. And then Stephen Collins, who played Decker, are a married couple in Seventh Heaven, like years later. The Seventh Heaven came out in like, what, 1996 or something? So I thought that was pretty interesting. Saavik staying on Venom because she was pregnant from Star Trek 3 was originally... Okay, yeah. So I thought that was kind of interesting that we see these two people in separate movies, but then they come back later on together. Sorry. But overall, I thought she did great. I loved her character in general. I thought she was really, really well done. So like I said, this movie came out in 1986. There's a lot of speculation. You could argue it both ways, but the common belief is that this movie being so popular is what led to The Next Generation coming out the next year in 1987. Personally, I feel like they were already developing it by this point, but this is the movie that kind of pushed that to the edge. So in this movie, like I've said before, in The Next Generation, or in the original series, sorry, I'm dying. In the original series, as kind of a budget saver, they would do time travel to the contemporary time, where they would get there and they're like, oh, this is like the mid-20th century. It's 1966, which is when the episode came out. They do the same thing in this movie. They go back in time... they go back in time and to the contemporary in the 1980s, which I'm okay with. As a kid, I'm pretty sure I saw this movie before I saw a lot of the original series episodes. So when I saw this movie, I thought the slingshot around the sun was unique. And then going back and watching all of the original series episodes, I was like, oh shit, they do this like every other episode. What did I just say? Sorry, my dogs are freaking out. So like I said also last time, in this movie is where they finite that there's no money in the future, which again, I said it yesterday, I'll say it again today. I feel like they did that and there's some guy in the back of the studio going like, fuck, what are you guys doing? Like, that's stupid. And it is. It's really dumb. Picard kind of smooths it out a little bit in First Contact, where he's like, we've reached a point where we're trying to better ourselves as a society. I don't know where that was like Walter Cronkite, not Picard. But like once we get to like Deep Space Nine, like Gold Press Latinum is mentioned over and over and over again. And after Deep Space Nine, it's even carried over, where money is clearly evolved in their society. I put on the newcomer. What? I don't even know what that means. Joshua, what are you talking about? I don't know what Joshua was talking about. 50 Quatus on the newcomer. I don't know if that's a reference to something. I don't know. I'm tired. But so clearly they do have money, but whatever. It's an interesting joke, and it's a funny scene. At the very least, it's a funny scene because she's trying to buy pizza and beer, and he's like, I don't know, you're gonna have to pay for it because I don't know what money is. But oh well, whatever. This is also the first time that we've seen the Enterprise A, which again, they've supposedly, they put that Enterprise A in there because they already knew they were using the Enterprise D for the Next Generation. So, but it's a gorgeous ship, and it's really interesting to see it. And I love how we see the Excelsior. And so, like I said last time, with foreshadow and everything, I love Sulu's line where he says, like, oh, I wish we'd get the Excelsior, because later on he becomes the captain of the Excelsior. So I thought that was really interesting. I think that's all of my random trivia facts. So overall, this movie, I felt like I love this movie so much. Every line in this movie is great. I quote this movie like, come here. I quote this movie like nonstop. Especially the old lady at the hospital where she's like, I got a new kidney. The doctor gave me a pill and I got a new kidney. I love this movie. It's perfect. And I think everybody would probably agree that Scotty's line of, Captain, we've got whales. It's like every line in this movie is just so quotable. And for me personally, I actually grew up in Alameda on the naval base that they reference. So it's kind of interesting because as a kid, we would be like, oh, look, like the scene where Uhura and Chekhov are talking into the communicator where they're like, we found the nuclear vessels and it's aboard the Enterprise. Like I've actually stood in that spot playing hacky sack with my friends because I'm old. And so, like, this episode, like, it's crazy. Like, I lived on Treasure Island, and I lived in Alameda. So, a lot of this historical stuff, like, every time they go somewhere, I'm like, yep, I've been there, and I've been there. So, I feel that could be part of my love for this episode, is just the pure nostalgia of being home. Ivan, we don't talk about how old I am. Oh, Siri wants to talk. So, yeah, we don't talk about that. But yeah, so I grew up in Alameda and Oakland and Treasure Island and San Francisco and Yerba Buena Island. And so there's actually one scene where they do like a flyby and like you can't see my house, but I'm like, that's that part of the island. Like I lived right there. And so that was kind of cool. And so I don't know, that could be why I love this movie. But overall, I feel like we've seen so much serious movie plots for Star Trek, and especially when we come out of the Search for Spock, where, I mean, like, David died, and, like, Spock died, but then he's back, and there's Bones is losing his mind, and, like, the Search for Spock is some serious stuff. There's a little bit of comedy mixed in there, but it's a heavy movie. Whereas this is, it's just great. It's a lot of fun, and now I got a second one. It's like this, the Voyage home. It's just a lot of fun. Just them having fun. Supposedly, that scene where Uhura and Chekhov are talking to the random people and the cop and the woman and stuff, and they're like, we're looking for the nuclear vessels in Alameda. And the woman's like, I don't know where that is. Like, you should try Alameda. And Chekhov goes, that's what I said. Supposedly, that's all unscripted. Like, they literally put Walter Coing and Nichelle Nichols in the middle of the street and were like, go. And then they had to chase after people to have them sign the like, whatever, the non-disclosure or whatever. But none of those people were actors. They were actual people that were just kind of there. I don't know if that's true, but I like to kind of believe it. But yeah, overall, like I said, this movie is just a lot of fun. It's really, really good. Because after this, I feel like we start going back into the serious parts of Star Trek. This is the last, like, family fun adventure. Oh, and I almost missed it. Like, all of the swearing, where they almost hit Kirk with a car, and he's like, oh, you dumbass. And he's like, well, double dumbass to you. Like, Jared, the Voyage Home felt out of place for a Star Trek movie, the whole whale thing. And that's probably why I liked it. Like, the original series itself had a lot of episodes, like Tribbles. The Tribbles episode is probably the most famous episode of Star Trek. The whole thing is just fucking random. Like, it's a bunch of little fluff balls that are killing things. But people liked that. So, like, this kind of felt like a Tribble movie. Like, it's just, and the whole, like I said earlier, the whole movie is nothing but MacGuffin. Like, why do we have to go back in time? For whales. Well, why do we need whales? Some alien's gonna blow up the planet if we don't get whales, so we gotta go get whales. Like, the whole thing. It's super thin, but it's a lot of fun. So, I don't know. Some people love this movie, some people hate this movie. I mean, they were technically in, the second to last movie. But I think that's pretty much all I got. Golden Gate. At one point they go to Golden Gate Park again. Like, I saw a lot of concerts in Golden Gate Park, the naval base. One of my favorite jokes in this whole movie, it's super dumb, is when Spock is like just being Spock and Kirk's like, oh, he did too much LDS in the 60s instead of LSD. And I remember as a little kid, like, Mom, what is LDS? And she had to explain to me what, like, Latter-day Saints versus LSD, the drug. And I was like, oh, okay. And then, like, I went around to, like, everybody I know, like, you did LDS. So, like I said, this movie has a lot of nostalgia for me. I feel like this and The Wrath of Khan, whichever one's your favorites, I feel like for the original movies, these two are definitely the top two. I could be wrong. I might even make a poll. I don't know. That's a good idea. That just occurred to me. Want to take a drink? But let me know, let me know what you think about this movie. Kind of like Jared just said, that he felt like it was out of place. Do you guys like it? Do you guys hate it? I like the silliness of it. I enjoy that for Star Trek. I don't think Star Trek always has to be serious. I kind of like the fun episodes sometimes. Not necessarily all the time, but some of the time. So I want you guys to let me know. Go ahead in the comments, because I'm going to save this, so this is live for you guys commenting right now, but for those watching it later, let me know what you guys think about this movie. This is the last movie that Leonard Nimoy directs. Let me know what you guys think about, or as far as Star Trek, I think he does do other movies later on, but for Star Trek, let me know what you guys think about his directing style. Because both this and The Search for Spock, regardless of the writing, I feel like Leonard Nimoy is a great director. Like, he just has a really good sense of direction. You see what I did there? I gotta include at least one really bad joke for every video. So let me know what you guys think of Leonard Nimoy directing. Let me know what you guys think of this movie in general. And then I think that's about it. Otherwise, I will see you... Yes, I agree, Calvin. Otherwise, I don't know if I'm going to do a live video tomorrow, because I don't get off work till like midnight, and I'm going to be really tired. We'll see. I don't know. But tomorrow's video, regardless, will be the infamous The Final Frontier, which I love. I'll admit it. I'll tell you guys right now, I love that movie. But otherwise, thank you guys again for all of your comments. I love this interaction. 2, 3, 4, and 6. Okay. I really like you guys commenting. I like doing these live videos. Just kind of comparing or commenting and having a conversation rather than recording and posting. Thank you all for commenting. Thank you guys all for watching. And I will see you guys tomorrow for The Final Frontier.